Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful Wednesday edition of the On Air Advocate. Where at the On Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I'm the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited that you guys are here early this Wednesday morning to tune in to this episode of the On Air Advocate, or if you are watching it on the replay. Now, as most of you know, the whole entire month of April, we have dedicated to Autism Awareness Month. So if you think this episode could be relevant for anybody, this broadcast could, please hit the share button so we can share the love with everyone else as well. So as we have focused on Autism Awareness Month, all month long, and we've gone from every single spectrum of this. I'm excited to have another parent here who is currently daily traveling the journey with his son. I have David Dollar here that's traveling the road with his son, Campbell. So good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, it's morning.
It is morning. Yes. We've been up for a couple hours because the kids are off at school now. They're all fed, and now it's time to actually do work, and then we go pick the kids up, and it just keeps going. So.
I know. It's that hustle and bustle like we talked about this morning. We're both racing to drop our kids off and racing back and all of that. So, David, for those of you who do not already follow you on any of your social media platforms, I love that you put out there kind of to the world, your daily life experiences, good, bad, indifferent, but you put it out there to tell your story. And I think, hopefully embrace, inspire, or maybe give some relevancy to any other parents that might be traveling the journey.
Right. Well, it's more for me when I share stories. A lot of times it is just anecdotal things. So it's, this is things that I think are funny. Sometimes they're tragic that happens to me. Many stories I have involve poop, unfortunately. But other parents will find funny as well. And I'm like, what else are you going to do? You have to laugh because you could get mad and get angry, but that won't solve anything. But a lot of times the stories I share are almost with an educational purpose, because I do have a lot of friends and family that don't understand autism. They don't understand. Mm-hmm. I don't really fully understand it myself, and I'm 6 years into it. But people that don't really understand, what makes Campbell different, what makes our family different, what are the struggles that we have to do that maybe other typical families don't have to do. And by sharing these stories, instead of just saying, "Oh, well, autism kids do this, this, and this," I can say, "Well, my son, here's how he does, and this is what happens with him, and here's a situation where things would be different if he was our typical 6-year-old, but he's not. He's on the spectrum, so this is what happened to us." So that's kind of how our stories are, where they come from.
Now, when did your story, I guess you'd say, begin? Was that at birth, or was that a few months in? Was that 18 months in, 20 months in? When did you start to know that there might be something that wasn't quite what you were thinking?
Well, our son was born in December of 2011, and we had him for the first year or so, and everything was fine. And maybe a year or so into it, we noticed he wasn't really making any noises, any sounds. He wasn't cooing, he wasn't babbling, or anything like that. He wouldn't respond to his name at all. There was no eye contact of any kind. And so my first thought was, well, what if he has hearing problems? What if he's deaf? I don't know. And so about February or March of 2013, so he's about 14 to 15 months old at this time, my wife and I decided, let's get his hearing checked. Let's go get him checked out just to make sure everything's okay. And the hearing was fine, but the doctor told us, you should look at getting him possibly tested for autism. You need to kind of get him looked at because this might be a problem. And of course, my wife has autism in the family. She has 2 cousins that have severe autism, and so we were already in tune to that, like this could be a possibility. And so we immediately began outpatient therapy with a local organization that would come over to our home and do kind of work with them a little bit to kind of give us an idea of some of the things we were looking at and some of the things he wasn't doing. And it's weird now because at 6 years old, our son doesn't shut up. He talks all the time. He sings all the time. We don't understand half of what he's saying, but But it's weird to look back. There was a time about a year to a year and a half when our child wasn't making any noises. Like there was nothing coming from him other than we knew he would, he had vocal cords. He would cry and he would grunt. He would, say something here and there. But any typical 1 year old, 1.5 year old would just be just talking and just babbling and cooing. And we were getting none of that. And so, about 15, 16 months in, we had therapy coming in. We actually got him an appointment at an autism therapy, not school, but autism therapy, I guess, diagnosis, doctor's appointment. But the waiting list was long, so we had to wait several months to get in. And we finally got in, and they did diagnosis in April of 2013. So about a year and maybe 8-9 months.
Okay.
He was officially diagnosed with autism. My wife and I had a sense that was going to be the case, so we were already preparing for it, not only emotionally but mentally, and even financially, beginning to look at things and say, "Hey, what are we gonna do? How we're gonna take care of this?" We and I've heard this story from other autism parents too, that the parents knew, but the families did not. Like the families and the friends, we would constantly get, "Oh, don't worry, my son didn't talk to, he was 2, or my kid didn't do these things till he was older." But as parents, something's not right. No matter what anybody tells you, something's not going.
It's that gut.
It's not right. It's exactly. So when he was officially diagnosed, when we had a therapist to look us in the eye and say, "Your son is on the spectrum," of course, it was upsetting to us. But it's like we were really the only ones that weren't surprised. The rest of our family was devastated, and there were tears shed and things like that. And we were like, we've been emotionally preparing for this for 5 months. So we were ready for it, and it was still very emotional, but we were ready for it. And the whole family kind of had to accept the fact that, okay, our grandchild, our cousin or whatever does have autism. And so that's kind of where the whole story began.
Before that, as you're putting out content and stuff right now, is that we're embraced with it every single day. We're living it every single day, but our family and even our closest friends are not. And so though they love us, they love our children, they want to understand, really they can't fully understand because they're not immersed in it, but telling those stories and giving that education really does help to grow that. Because I know in my son is not autistic, but he has multiple special needs. And when he was young, our family used to always say, well, maybe he just needs to take some vitamins.
Right.
Maybe that's
of course. Of course. And they mean well. Nobody means to insult you. People mean well, but they want to encourage you in a way that says, don't worry about it. Things will be okay. Right. Here's probably what's going on. Right. And all the time you're going, no, I know what this is. I know what's going on here. Right. I'm sorry. Thank you for the encouragement, but we know what's happening.
Exactly. So then, you guys got the diagnosis because your wife had some family members already with that diagnosis. You were already directly in the therapies and all of that. So you got him those services.
Yep.
Now, I know when we have spoken before, you talked about, when did he start in your area? Let's give the folks here. What area are you from? Where do you live?
Birmingham, Alabama. That's where we live.
Okay. So in Birmingham, Alabama, where, what schooling? Did that start at 3? Did he start in a schooling program at 3? I know he did a specialty program of some kind.
He did. There's a couple of schools in the area that are very popular and very, I guess, very good with autism, but the waiting lists are long. And so we were looking at one school called Mitchell's Place, and that's a school in the area. And the waiting list was forever long. So we got our name on the waiting list, and we decided to take him to a local church, had like a Mother's Day Out program. And so we went there, and they were able to work with him special needs because at a young age, at 2 years old, he's a lot easier to handle. And it was when he started getting mobile, that was when it was harder to handle, but he was there for about 2 years, actually. We were able to get into Mitchell's Place about maybe 6-8 months later. And so he went 3 days a week, after school care and things like that. And so it was kind of a mesh of Mother's Day Out versus Mitchell's Place after school care. And the remarkable thing is, even though we had 4 or 5 months of outpatient therapy where they would come to our home, and it's a local organization, and I don't want to mention the name because we weren't really happy with them, so I don't want to insult that group. But it was a very inconsistent. It was a lot of, I guess, college students that were in like special needs programs and things where they were trying to learn, and which was great, I guess, practice for them. But for us, it was like, we're not getting anything out of this. He was in Mitchell's Place for less than a week, and already he was making eye contact, and he was saying a word here and there, whatever. It was remarkable. It was just, we were nearly in tears. Our son was coming back to us, and actually suddenly he was doing things. He was making motions. He was signing more is what he was doing. He was actually doing a hand sign or a sign language for the word more, like I want more. Something that was really almost like his first real communication with us, is to say I want more by doing the hand sign. And it was just, it blew us away. And so he's been there actually for the last 3 years. This is his final year.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's grown up in that school. We did the Mother's Day program for 2 years. It was like Mother's Day and Mitchell's Place back and forth, and then Mitchell's Place for 3 years. And they gave us our son back. I mean, they gave us our son because we didn't know what to do. We had no idea. And they do one-on-one therapy with him daily, but they also get him involved with other children too. And he's able to do things with other kids and have social time and things like that. And he's talking. He's only been talking, I would probably say, about a year and 2 or 3 months. He started talking in January of 2017 when he actually started really talking consistently. Before that, he would say a word here, he would say a word there, mommy, daddy, whatever. But actually saying, may I have this, or can I have that, or identifying things, what things are, pointing things out. We've only had him talking about a year and a half, and like I said, he doesn't shut up now. Now he just talks all the time. He sings all the time. He's there's Shake It Off is his favorite song. He's learned that in his dance class, and so he sings the chorus of that. He doesn't really know the words, but he loves it, and so he sings that a lot. And so he's a chatterbox, which is wonderful, which is amazing.
So in that verbal ability, is he doing he's doing speaking, identifying things? Does he use any of that rapid prompting? I know I have someone coming on in a few weeks to talk about that. Do you know that method?
I know what you're talking about. I know. RPM, I think it's called rapid.
Rapid prompting.
We didn't do that. We looked at that. We don't know if it's the right therapy for our kid. We've heard it's had a great success rate with other children. My wife's cousins actually are doing that. I haven't spoken to them, so I don't know how well it's working. I don't know a lot about it. Honestly, she's the one you actually need to have on the podcast. She can tell you all about that stuff. But, I'm just a fill-in because she's not here. But no, she knows a little bit about it. I don't know much about it, and I'll be interested to hearing the episode when they come on to talk about it because I've heard it's remarkable. But I think we looked at it, and I think we decided at this point in time it's not right for our child yet, or where he is right now.
Right, because can he basically on a regular basis, on a daily basis, I mean, he can communicate his needs. Does he primarily communicate through his verbal ability, or does he communicate through signing?
He communicates through verbal ability. He didn't sign very much. He assigned the essential words, more, want, help, hurt, things like that. If I'm hurt or I need help or whatever, he would assign the basic words. And he had a talker for a little while, an iPad where he would use it. But we really wanted to get him talking if we could. We didn't want to push him to, if he was going to grow up and be nonverbal, we didn't want to push that on him to make him talk if he just wasn't going to talk. But we wanted to basically push him enough that if he was going to talk, we wanted to get that out of him. And he does talk. He doesn't use an iPad to talk anymore. He doesn't sign or anything like that. He is verbal. He's still formulating his words. He makes small, short sentences. I would like this. I would like that. May I have this, please? Things like that. He's just started spontaneously asking for other things. Example, he was at school and one of his friends, Jack, was not there. And he walked up to a teacher and asked, where is Jack? And that's just spontaneous, like out of nowhere. He noticed Jack wasn't in his class. Where is Jack? Well, Jack wasn't, Jack's not here today. And okay, that's fine. But he started spontaneously doing these things, not just I want something. It's more of a, like, where is this? Or what is this? Or that. And that's something that's a very recent development just in the last few weeks. But yeah, he's definitely verbal. He is very verbal, which is great.
That's awesome. And those moments which some parents that have not experienced, their child having different abilities of kinds. I mean, those are some of the biggest milestone moments. Right. You just saying that, him saying and asking, probably almost brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah. Well, it's that's the thing with autism is, and I say this, and this entire conversation is with the knowledge that there are other parents that have other challenges that aren't autism. I know a family with a Down syndrome child. I know families that have kids with severe ADHD. I mean, really severe problems in that area. And so, this is not to say, well, we go through these things and you don't. None of that. And I'm always very aware of that other families have challenges too. But I speak to our challenges, and they can speak to theirs. But yeah, our milestones are different. Our milestones are different than typical parents. The first word of a typical parents and their family may come at age 2. Our first word didn't really come to like 4. The first time that our child said, love you, mommy, that didn't happen till probably, sometime early last year, maybe late the year before. So he was almost 5 years old before our kid actually looked at his mother and said, love you, mommy. Right. And that's something that happens early on in most typical children. And so, of course, it was just, my wife was crying and I was near in tears and everything, because here's our child finally saying, love you, mommy. And he was responding. It wasn't just he spontaneously said that, I love you, Campbell, love you, mommy. Oh my gosh, he just said that. but so it wasn't even just him saying that. It was also the fact that he just made a sentence. He formulated 3 words together and just, so our milestones are different. When he finally learns things, when he rides his first roller coaster, when he learns somebody's name, or when he learns how to do certain things, the milestones are different than a lot of other families.
Right. And we wait so long for them. And I always say in the different abilities world, it's like we're all in the same body of water, but we're on different ships.
Yes.
And we're all kind of looking at it in different perspectives. And that's why I say, the most relevant and best content I've ever learned is through other parents' journeys and their struggles and things that they've tried. And it doesn't mean, maybe what you lend is going to work for one parent doesn't mean it's going to work for the other. But when you're in the world of different abilities, I feel like you need to give it your all. I mean, you got to try different things. You don't know it's going to work. There's absolutely no guide.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just everything going to the grocery store with Campbell. That's something that I've done. It's weird because and my wife and I never sat down and just had a list of things we had to do and started crossing them out. You take this and I'll do that and I'll do these 2 things. We kind of fell into our roles somehow, and this is what we're doing now. And one of the roles I have is I usually do the grocery shopping, and my wife doesn't get home till 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I pick up our son at 3, so I have about an hour to an hour and a half to fill in that afternoon to do certain things, and to entertain him. And if it's a nice day outside, I can't just take him home and put him inside because he'll go crazy. He wants to be outside. So we'll go grocery shopping after school. And there is a trial and error there that I had to learn over time. What I can do at say Publix grocery store that I can't do at Walmart. What can I do at Walmart that I can't do at Whole Foods? What can I do at Whole Foods that I can't do at Fresh Market? And and I actually posted this not too long ago. Every grocery store has its pros and cons of things you have to learn, you have to do. And with a child like Campbell, every place has, be it a grocery store or a park or a library or something, every place has its pratfalls and has its potential for good and potential for bad. And so, with a typical child, you don't really have to do a lot of those things. With him, you have to consciously be aware of, okay, where is this? Where is that located? Where can I find this? What do I do here? What do I do there? What do I not do here? And that kind of thing. And it's a trial and error thing. I mean, it's just, there's no perfect answer. And, what I do with Campbell at Walmart may be something completely different than another parent with an autistic child will do with their son at Walmart, because they're 2 different kids. It's been said, you meet one child with autism, you have met one child with autism.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's exactly true. And it's like you don't really fully grasp that until you have a kid with autism and you see other kids with autism and talk to the parents, and you're like, oh, well, my kid doesn't do that. And my kid does do this, but he doesn't do that. And it's, they're all different.
The spectrum for all of that is so incredibly wide. Now, have you found from grocery stores to like a Walmart, do you find where there's more stimuli? Do you feel like a grocery store, or do you feel like a Walmart is more here? Because I live out, I live in Wisconsin, but I live in the country. And so all of our Walmarts are grocery. That's where we grocery shop.
Right.
We don't have any grocery store.
Right.
We have like one Walmart in 10 miles.
That's crazy. Well, I grew up in a small town where Walmart was 8 miles away, McDonald's was 8 miles away, and a movie theater was 20 miles away. So I completely understand.
Right. So do you feel like the stimuli for him is so different, like you're saying, the different grocery stores versus like a Walmart or a mall? Do you ever do the mall?
Yes and no. And we've been very blessed because he doesn't have a lot of sensory issues when it comes to it. He does not get really overwhelmed. We'll go to Disney World. The crowds don't bother him. The fireworks don't bother him. He loves fireworks. He loves roller coasters. He doesn't really get the sensory doesn't bother him. So we go to Walmart, the overwhelming massive size of the place and the lights, it doesn't faze him. Having said that, to kind of direct your question, what I find is he does look at different things different ways. At Walmart, he will sit in the cart and he will just look around because there's so much to look at because it's so big and ceiling so high and everything. You go to Publix, he doesn't do that. He wants to sit in kind of the kid's car. It looks like a big vehicle. You sit him on top there. He's got a little steering wheel there. He wants to sit in there and play with the steering wheel. But you kind of have to watch his arms because he'll reach out and grab stuff, whereas he doesn't do that at Walmart. You go to a Whole Foods or a supermarket like that, like I walk in, I know immediately I have to go left because the kids' buggies are over on the right, little small miniature buggies that you can push. And he wants those because I let him use one of those one single time, never again, learn my lesson. So you immediately have to go left because if you don't, he sees the buggies and wants them. All places like this have automatic doors. He loves automatic doors. And so if you're holding his hand walking to the store, you immediately have to grasp his hand really tightly because he will jerk away from you to run to that door And sometimes that's across a parking lot, and you have to be very careful about that. So really the stimulus doesn't bother him. The sensory doesn't really affect him that much. But every place he looks at differently, and he knows, because we've been to all these places so many times, he knows what's at what place, and you have to be conscious of that all the time.
Okay. That is good insight and information. I feel the same. I always also know where to abort the mission.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, and I've done that too. So at some point in time, you just call it and say, you know what, we're done. And because he has a bad day, he's crying. No matter what you do, you can't help it. He's just fussy and just, I've left the cart at Walmart just like a half full of stuff, paper towels and whatever, just left it there and just done. Pick him up, walk out, and we'll do this later. There's nothing in here that we can't survive with tonight. Just whatever. Let's get out of here. And I think that happens with any parents. But really, you have to be conscious of, okay, so whining a little bit. Can I finish? Or, oh, you know what? I sense a meltdown coming. Let's get out of here right now.
Right.
Yep. And I've had that happen.
Now, you had spoke to before that he is going to be finishing at the school that he's been at for all these years.
Yep, 3 years, yeah.
And you know how we like, in this different abilities world, we like to stay in the same place if we like it.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Well, and he'll be 7. He'll be 7 in December, and he'll be starting kindergarten, so he's already starting a year late. And I think even if he had the option to stay one more year, I don't know that we would let him do it, because we don't want him to start kindergarten at 8 years old. That'd be crazy. And so, at some point in time, he has to get integrated into the public school system. We have to get him into that area, and it's a good time to do it. The elementary school he'll be going to is right down the road from our home. They have a great program. The teachers' aides and the special needs aides have already come to Mitchell's Place to see him, to kind of observe him and everything. So they've already talked to us several times. They're working with the school, and they've done this with a couple of kids from Mitchell's Place over the years, where they will help them integrate into public school. They have an aide that will help him during the day. And one of the things they're doing now at Mitchell's Place, because this is his final years, they're working with him to get him ready for public school. As in, they've done one-on-one blocks of time all during the day, but a lot of times now they'll start him on a project and they'll leave him alone. They'll just kind of step back and let him do his project on his own, because at public school, you don't have one-on-one. You have 1 on 3, 1 on 4, something like that. You have people working with a couple of kids. So it's not direct attention all the time. And so that's something he's got to get used to. He can't just have a teacher with him the whole time. He's got to be able to do things on his own. And he's learning things to do that. I'm hearing stories constantly of how the teacher will set him on a project, and he'll do it. He'll get up and he'll walk over and grab what he needs, the small scissors or the glue or whatever, and walk back to the table and do his craft. And, so he's learning things like that. So, yes, becoming very, very independent. During the summer, the kids who are leaving, or kids who are, I guess, quote unquote, graduating, we don't have to get them out of the car to take them in the school anymore like we've done before. We actually will pull up to the little carport area, and they will take the kid out and put the kid back in, getting him used to carpool. So that way, you're used to sitting in there in the line for a minute. Because, when we pull up, he automatically wants to pull his car seat out, or pull his buckle out, get out the car seat and run to school. Well, we can't do that at public school, because you have to wait in carpool for them to get the kids. So he's got to learn how to do that as well. So they're doing things like that to kind of get him used to what public school is going to be like.
Now, is he cognitively and developmentally at about his age level, or what is that gap for him?
He's probably physically he's fine. He's on a 6-year-old level. He's in whatever percentile. He's an average child. He's in really good health. Cognitively, he's probably, if I had to guess, probably somewhere around a 2 to 3-year-old. That would be my guess. What I like to say about Campbell is he's super smart. He is very smart. He picks things up. He observes things. He learns. He's a problem solver. He learns how to do things. He will learn through trial and error how to do things, and he will remember, okay, well, I tried it this time. It didn't work. Let me try something else. But communication-wise, speaking-wise, he's probably on a 2-year-old level. There's just certain things he can't say. Certain things he tries to get out there, he just can't say it, and there's a disconnect between brain and mouth where he just can't formulate words correctly. And I think that will change over time, because his words are picking up more and more and more, and he's always coming to us saying words that we didn't even know he knew. Like, where did you learn that word? What just happened? And it's random how he just does stuff like that. And it speaks to any child. You never really understand how much a kid knows until they show you how much they know. But with Campbell, he doesn't have. I hate to say his brain capacities of a 2 to 3 year old because I think he's smarter than that, but he does communicate kind of on a 2 to 3 year old level.
He
So he's completely
communicates
fine.
on that, but his
Yes.
developmental
Yes. I think
ability,
yeah,
it's closer to his age.
I would think so. But of course, with autism, they see the world differently. They see the world completely differently. And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to, I guess, book smarts, words and letters and numbers and things like that, he knows all those. He can't say them
Okay.
correctly, can't them out, but he knows all of them. When it comes to social issues, when is it proper to hug somebody? When is it proper to take somebody's hand? When is it proper to, when should I sit here? When can I go play over there? Those kind of things he doesn't grasp. And that's what's hard about, any place we go, especially a place like a park or something, if it's a new place, especially like, typical parents, they kind of scope the place out real quick. They know what to watch for. Hey, you play right here. Don't leave us here. You play right here. With Campbell, you can't do that. You have to watch everything because don't go anywhere. Stay right here. Play in this area. It doesn't click with him. He doesn't understand that. And so he might play here for a second, but decide he wants to go over there and play over there. So you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of the fact that in his mind, don't do this. Don't go anywhere. Don't play right here. It doesn't click. And so it's a constant vigilance of watching him, watching what he's doing. And it's funny because when I go anywhere, and my wife does the same thing, when we go anywhere to a new home, to a new park, to a new building, an office, or whatever, you immediately start scoping the area. Where are the doors? Where are the drawers? Are there plugs in there? Is there a way he can get out? Is there a phone handy he's going to want to grab? Are there things sitting on? Okay, who's here? People have phone out? Do they have their phones out sitting on couches? Do they have their keys out? Do they have things he's going to want to grab? You're like watching and scanning the perimeter in a matter of seconds, going, okay, that's bad. Watch this. Okay, this is good. This is good. This is good. Okay, and you start steering him in the right direction, and and we do that. You have to do that constantly, no matter where you go. Even if it's a familiar place, you have to look around, going, okay, everything good? Oh, that's different. All right, let me watch that. And so, yeah, it's a constant scanning because he doesn't understand. Don't hug, don't touch this, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't grasp that social common sense, we would call it, of what to do, what not to. He doesn't get that yet, and so
Right.
that's the hard part.
Now, I know you said that you and your wife, not knowing that Campbell was going to be born with some different abilities,
Mm-hmm.
You guys didn't plan, well, you're going to take this on the checklist.
Right.
You're going to take this, you're going to take that. Something that I teach a lot and talk a lot about is planning and preparing for what is in your control. Okay, as special needs parents, because just because something is attainable doesn't mean it's sustainable when we have so many things with our kiddos that we need to do.
Right.
Because we're not talking about, hey, them not going to one class or something like that. We're talking about their quality of life, in every single aspect as they them getting the best care that way. What decisions did you and your wife, kind of have to make that way career-wise? Did your career shift at all, once you guys got the diagnosis with Campbell to kind of be, like you were going to be more home and you were going to do the pickup or changing things that way to be able to take him to all the therapies and all the stuff? I think a lot of parents, that's a huge challenge.
Yeah. Well, and I would say for the first year or two, it wasn't as hard because, Stephanie's parents were in town here, and they were actually able to take care of him for a while. And I've gone through, actually, this is my, I guess, third career, quote unquote career, since we've had him in 6 years. Because when we had him, I was finishing up my career at Starbucks, which is Starbucks coffee, and I was there for 11 years. And my schedule was very flexible. I had a day off in the middle of the week, and like Thursday or Wednesday I would have off, so I'd have all day with him at home. And I would be off like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, my wife would take our child to the grandparents' house at like 7 or 7:30, and I would pick him up at 1:30. So they had him early part of the day. So it worked out really, really well. When I left that job, I went to an office job. It was a little more challenging because they had to take him to school, and so they did that. So they really stepped in a lot to help us out a lot during the day. It is when I left that job in 2015 and I do my full-time job from home. I'm a travel planner working with Disney, and so I do that job completely from home. And so it's like our roles now have shifted to the point where I get him up, I feed him breakfast, take him to school, I work during the day, and I pick him up. The wife comes home in the evening from her day job. She works at the power company downtown. And it's kind of when she takes over. She kind of takes over with him, in terms of playing with him and being with him, spending time with him, that kind of thing, and giving him the bath, putting him to bed. And it's again, we didn't sit down and just start doing a checklist of what needs to be done, this, that, and the other. It was kind of, we fell into these roles and this is what we're comfortable with, and this is what works for us. And we've had discussions of, I've been doing this a lot. Can you do me a favor? Can you maybe let's swap this role? Or I do a lot of this here. Can you take some of this off my shoulders? Or what? This isn't really that hard. Is there something I can help you with? So we've done a lot of that, kind of compromising and moving tasks back and forth. But overall, we have a pretty good little unspoken system of, I do the grocery shopping. I pick him up in the afternoon. I take him to the park, that kind of thing. She does the nighttime routine with the bed and the dinner and so on and so on. And we've kind of fallen into that role over the course of the years. Early on, it was easy. I don't know that I could possibly do a daytime office 9-to-5 job with her doing the same thing where we are now. I think it would be very, very difficult because, we'd have to put him in daycare or something like that. And I don't even know where the special needs daycares are in the area because he's to the point now where it's very obvious he's different than other children. Mm-hmm. So you can't just throw him into a mix of 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds and let him play. You have to take different attention with him. And so that's the hard part now, because when it was early, he could play with the other kids, but now that things are a little different. It's not as simple as just throwing him off in daycare for a couple of hours, right. Afternoon care or whatever. It's there's more to it than just that.
Yeah, I think that's where the challenge comes in, is that there aren't as many facilities. You can't just go do any program. Even like when you look in your recreational guide, it's not like, oh, I want to sign my kid up for this or this kind of T-ball or that.
Right.
It's really a challenge, and it's a lot of sifting. And that's why I always say, to be open to trying different things.
Absolutely.
And also approaching people about them. I know over time, even for recreational activities and whatnot for my son, me approaching the directors of that and saying, hey, I know this program isn't especially made for kids with different abilities, but do you think we could get an aide?
Right.
Do you think we could get someone, and opening people's eyes to maybe trying some new things? And I think one thing cool that you told me about in our last conversation was, do you and your wife, you guys take separate times to go out?
We do. We have to. And we have to. And I'm a night owl, and she goes to bed. She likes to go to bed a little early because she loves her sleep. And I'm one of those. I get by 4 or 5 hours a night of sleep a night. I've always done it for the longest time. She needs about 9 hours of sleep, so she goes to bed early. So a lot of times I'll go to the movie late. I'll go to a 11 o'clock movie, and I won't get home till 1 o'clock in the morning. Go to bed, get up, and do the morning. And during the day, if I have a few hours during the day, I might go grab a movie or something like that. For her, she'll go have dinner with friends in the early evening, or on Saturdays we kind of swap up, and I'll say, hey, do you want to go to a movie? And she'll go to an early one, I'll go to a late one. And we're big movie fans, so we do a lot of movie stuff, but any kind of thing like that, we talk to each other and we kind of plan around each other. And she'll say, hey, there's a retreat going on with these women at church, can I go to this? Or I'll say, there's something happening all day on Saturday at downtown at blah blah blah, is it cool if I go? And it's not really asking for permission. It's more of this is what I'd like to do. Can you tell me is this going to be a problem? And we have to be honest with each other. I know you want to go to that, but here's the thing on Saturday. This is what's going on. Okay, let's talk about it. How can we work around it? You know what? It's cool. I'm not going to go. Not a big deal. And we've had that happen where you get disappointed because you want to do something, you can't. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily because both of you are going to go, but because something's going on that you can't miss, or the other one was already promised to do this. Now you have to be with the kid, and so we have to compromise on that, and it's tough because we don't get a lot of date nights. I know of parents that they say, we could try to spend that time together once a week. We try to do this time, once a week together, or once every 2 weeks we have a date night. And for us, and I think a lot of autistic parents are like this, it's just whenever you can. Sometimes her parents will take them for the afternoon. Hey, y'all go to the movie, so we'll do that. Or, for Christmas one year, her sister actually gave us, I'm going to take Campbell for 2 nights, and you guys can have the weekend to yourselves. And what did we do? We came home, we cleaned the house a little bit. We went to the movies. We went to breakfast at Waffle House. Like, there was no hey, let's go to Gatlinburg for the weekend, or hey, let's go out and do this, whatever. It's, let's go home and sleep. Let's just go home and she probably for the afternoon. Like, the kid's not even here. It's a rare moment. She slept on the couch for a couple hours in the afternoon, and I was in the kitchen cleaning up, listening to my iPod, listening to an audiobook or something, because it was so peaceful and serene in the house. And it's let's just enjoy this peacefulness. The next morning, and that's what we did. Hey, what'd y'all do? Nothing, and it was awesome. It was fantastic. And so, but yeah, we have to take turns doing stuff. And I try to be there for her. She's much more of a homebody. I think she doesn't mind just taking a nap in the evenings and watching TV, and she likes reclining and relaxing after work all day. And I like to go out and do things. And so, I give her the opportunity to go do stuff, and I'll go do stuff, and we take turns. We have to.
See, but I love that, because I think that there are so many challenges and so many other stressors when you do have a child that has, different abilities, on the spectrum, has autism, whatever, that may be. And to realize that this is our situation,
Right.
but we're going to make it work still.
Well, and
We're
you
going to
have
make
to
it
have,
work and give that space so that you can.
you have to have breaks. You
moments.
have to have breaks. And even in the house, we take breaks and stuff because, for example, I'll prepare his food and everything for the week, and I'll be in the kitchen probably a good hour or so, hour and a half doing that. And she keeps him in the living room while I do that in the kitchen. And we're in separate rooms. We're still on the same floor in the same house, 30 yards away, but we're still taking a break from each other. I'm taking a break from the kid. Or she'll say, hey, I'm going to go upstairs and do some cleaning up or some decluttering or whatever, and I'll keep him downstairs while she's upstairs doing whatever. And so even in the house, we'll take breaks during the week of, I need an hour over here, I need an hour over there, that kind of, because you have to. You just have to, because otherwise you'll go crazy. You'll
Yes.
And that's probably with any parents. But and I hate to use the word especially. But yeah, especially with Campbell, with our son, you have to take a few breaks here and there, because otherwise it'll drive you nuts.
Right. Well, I love your transparency, because it's so real, and
Right.
it's so honest. And so, would there be, you've given so many great golden nuggets in this conversation that we've been having for 30 some minutes now already,
Right.
but would you have any other things that you would say, to a new parent that, their child has just been diagnosed? Maybe those feelings that you had at that point that you think could be helpful, or do you think that there is anything that you guys do on a daily basis, or you practice on a daily basis? Like, for myself, I always practice patience. You know what I'm saying? I know that I'm not going to get the answer tomorrow. And when my son was first born, I didn't know that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I wanted the doctor and I wanted the answer and I wanted to find it out right away. And you know what? Now we're at almost 21 years later. You know what I'm saying? And there's still things I don't know, and I need to be okay with that. And I need to use, my faith, first in all that I do, and that to just have great patience. And so would there be anything in that area that you could pass on?
Well, first thing is you need community. You need people that that are either in your situation or people that can help you with your situation. We have great friends. We have some autistic parents, and we have other friends that are just, their children are typical. But we always have people around us that are very encouraging to us if we need them. And when we first got diagnosed, and I'm very active on social media, so I was actually on my blog site. I wrote a blog post kind of that day of what happened. I read it now and I realize it was kind of emotional, but I had a lot of people respond to that and kind of pick up where we are. So you need people around you. So if somebody's diagnosed, you have your child diagnosed for the first time, you need to find a group on Facebook, find a group in your community, find a group at church, find a group of special needs parents. Even if you have other parents that don't have autistic children, but maybe they have MS children or cerebral palsy or Down syndrome or some sort of disability like that. You need people around you to know that you're not by yourself, because if autism is scary by itself, it is frightening by itself. I can't imagine our family living somewhere else where we didn't have the sense of community around us, because it would be scary. And we've told each other before, my wife and I, and I mean it very seriously, I don't know what I would do without her. If something happened to her, God forbid, I have no idea what I would do. And I'm sure that I would survive. God would carry me through, because we have total faith in that. But I don't even want to think about how challenging that would be to have to do this all by myself. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to let go of perfection. You have to let go of the things you think you should be doing. And a great example of this is the house that I sit in right now. Our house is very dirty. It's dusty and it's cluttered. We talk about it all the time, but sometimes when the weekend comes, we're zapped for the entire week. It's like, we're going to dust, but we'll just vacuum later. We're going to clean, but we'll just, and things start piling up. There in our hallway, we have to put a gate up, kind of a kid's gate between the hallway, between the living room and the kitchen, because Campbell loves the kitchen. He loves the drawers. He loves slamming the drawers shut, and we don't want him getting into things he shouldn't get into. So we have to keep a gate there. And as a result of that gate, the paint's chipped all along the hallway. And there's scratches on the hallway and everything, and our floor is scratched up. And you can look at it, and we can look at it as parents and be like, oh my gosh, our house is so terrible. But those are things, I don't care. I don't care about the paint chips. I don't care about the floor. When he gets older, when he gets to the point where he understands he's not supposed to do certain things and he obeys those rules, then we can repaint. Then we can refinish the floor. We can do the certain things. But as of right now, we survive. We survive as it is. And so you have to let go of like, oh my gosh, we can't have people over because my house is so dirty, and we can't do this because, you have to let go of all of that, because you'll drive yourself crazy. I don't worry about it. Obviously, we want to keep a good house when we can, so we clean it when we can. But Campbell, you mentioned sensory issues. Campbell's scared of vacuums. That's one thing he doesn't do. Vacuums, shredders, grinders, any kind of noise, he frightens the heck out of him. So we can't vacuum when he's in the house. We can't vacuum here. So our house goes in vacuum for weeks at a time because we can't do it when he's around. But we have to let go of that because otherwise it drives us crazy. And the third thing, and the most important thing that I think that I really had to grasp, is you have to celebrate who your child is and not who you think he should be. Because, we wanted a typical child. I wanted a child I could go see Disney movies with at the movie theater. I wanted a kid that I could sit down and play Legos with, or we could eat Oreos and milk together. I mean, that's, as a dad, you think of all these great things. Let's throw the ball around. Let's play some football. Let's go watch a basketball game together. Let's do some sportsy stuff, or let's go to the park and I'll show you how to fly a kite, and all these things that I should have already done at age 6. We should have already done all these things. None of these things happened. None of these things have happened. And I could sit here and I could cry and moan about, oh my gosh, why can't I take my kid to the movies? And why can't we fly kites together? Why can't you understand how Legos are built? Or I could celebrate the fact that I have a child who is so loving and so affectionate and just so, incredibly energetic and just so happy nearly all the time. Because we know there are other autistic children, and they're not nearly as far along as he is. And we're very blessed. If we're going to have an ASD child, he's almost like a perfect child to have in that area. We celebrate, the words he learns, the things he learns. When he learned his colors, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. When he's learning emotions this week. He knows how to, if I say, show me sadness, he rubs his eyes and frowns his mouth like he's being sad, which is hilarious because he just learned that this week. Show me sadness. And it's pretending. And that's something you don't think about until it happens. He's pretending, and he's really not ever pretended until the last, I would say, several weeks. He's actually using his imagination for things, which all kids do by the time they're, 1, they start pretending things. He does it until recently. And so we celebrate those moments, not where we think he should be, but where he is now. We don't mourn the things we can't have with him. We celebrate the things we do have with him. So those are 3 things I would tell any parent: find community, let go of the small stuff, dirty house, whatever, who cares? You survived like you need to, and celebrate your child. Celebrate the child you have, not the one you think you should have.
Yes. I love it. I'm going to list out all of those.
Okay.
Live as well. That is fabulous. And so, I thank you so much, David, like I said, for being so transparent and spending the early part of your morning with us.
Absolutely.
If there are folks that maybe want to obviously follow you or read any of your content about Campbell, any of that, or get in contact with you in any way, what would be your best social media platform for them to do that on?
Well, I'm on 3 constantly. I'm on Facebook. You can just find me on Facebook, David Dollar. Twitter, I'm on Twitter at Dave Dollar, Dave Dollar, and on Instagram. In Instagram, we're going to see a lot of Campbell stuff because I do a lot of pictures up there of Campbell and kind of little captions of what's going on. You'll find me there at SuperDave310. You find me on Twitter, and finally, I have a blog site. cloudsinmycoffee.com, and it's a blog site of everything. It's everything from movies to family to whatever, but there is a lot of Campbell content on there. And if you go look at December 1st of every year of the previous 6 years, I do a letter to Campbell, and I've done this every year since he was born, basically, and with the idea that one day he's going to read all these letters. And I do, to Campbell on his 2nd birthday, to Campbell on his 3rd birthday, whatever. And it's a recap of the year, a recap of what he's learned, a recap of what we're seeing, a recap of just, when he reads this, he can read, hey, Campbell, this is what you learned this year. This is what we discovered, blah, blah, blah. So all that's up there as well. And there's links to different other Campbell stories and stuff. So you can go there and read about those things. So.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Can you drop all of those links below this live?
Yeah, sure.
I will. When we're done, it will upload and.
Yeah, well, you can show me when we're done. You can show me how that is because I have no idea where to put that. No clue. So.
No, that's fine. We can drop that below for everyone. And I just love all of your golden nuggets. You have absolutely made my Wednesday, and I'm sure many others that are watching this. So again, I want to thank you, David. Thank you for sharing about Campbell, and thank your wife as well for letting you do this. And she obviously is such a big part of this.
Stephanie is a major part of this. Yeah, she's the woman behind the curtain. I'm the one that's on social media going, hey, this would happen, that's what happened, and behind the scenes, she's the one that does all the other stuff. So yeah, she's the rock star.
Great thanks to her. But I thank you guys all for joining us this morning on the On Air Advocate. As you always know, if you want to find any of our social media platforms, you can hop right on over to www.onairadvocate.com and they will all be there. And you guys have a fabulous rest of your day. Thanks so much, David.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.